This is Emily, president of Self Advocates of ADEC and podcast host. Welcome to another episode of our monthly podcast, Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. Welcome back, everybody, to another Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. And this podcast episode is a hashtag It's Fall Y'all inspired, as it is for the month of September.
It's September, yeah.
And welcome back, Beth.
Thanks, Emily. I'm glad to be back.
You're welcome. On a pod again.
On the pod again. Just can't wait to be on the pod again. That's a good one.
Thank you.
So what are we talking about today, Emily?
Yeah, speaking of the podcast and topics, Beth, what do you believe is the most significant barrier to effective advocacy?
Ooh, that's a good question. Barriers, I think, are some internal barriers we have, whether we are interested in the subject, so we want to give information or let our voice be heard, or if we're not interested in the subject, we don't want to let our voice be heard. Some other ones could be time. People don't give us enough time for understanding what's going on, or assumptions. People make assumptions that we already know something that we really don't. So I would say those are some barriers to advocacy right there. What do you think?
I feel like jumping to conclusions can easily be a barrier.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we let our minds go wild, and like that little inner voice that you have, unfortunately sometimes it's the worst inner critic, the worst inner enemy, and like it's that devil on your shoulder that likes to whisper certain themes in your ear or implant the seed in your head.
So that inner self-talk or self-acceptance.
Yeah, of something that like didn't even happen.
Those can be barriers too.
Yeah. Does self-advocacy sometimes feel like a uphill battle?
I think in certain areas it can for some people. For me and my self-advocacy, I've always been just brought up with speaking my mind. So for me, that's not just, I'm lucky in that aspect because I can just speak my mind, and so it doesn't feel like an uphill battle to me. But I can see for others that weren't taught to speak their mind or learn to speak their mind or couldn't feel safe speaking their mind, where it could feel like an uphill battle. Absolutely.
Especially when you have a hard time communicating in general, like how you can articulate your thoughts and trying to say what you want to say, especially when that is a problem in of itself for some people as well.
Well, yeah, then there's the health issue. Like, let's say I had some type of condition where I wasn't sure what was going on with my body, and trying to speak that with the doctor so that I could get some type of relief, whether it was pain or being dizzy, nauseated, whatever it may be, whatever health condition it was. If I had to go to doctor after doctor and not have results, I'm advocating for myself, for my health, and that could feel like an uphill battle in some areas too, I think. So we could have it from day to day depending on our health issues too.
Yeah, true. And honestly, it could be an uphill battle for like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways, especially if you have like something going on like mentally.
Yeah.
And you have a hard time just saying what you need or saying what you want or be able to like understand your thoughts or your feelings.
Yeah.
Would you share an experience where you faced obstacles when advocating?
When you're trying to advocate to get to a specific doctor, and the obstacle I had was insurance. The insurance just wouldn't cover that doctor's group. So then, going to the drawing board of going back to figuring out how to find the doctor that is in my insurance network. There's different things like that that some people take for granted and assume that some people know how to do and that others don't know how to do. So to me, that was a big obstacle, just because you want like all of that stuff to just kind of, it's stressful already dealing with health issues. You want things to just kind of roll smooth so that way you can focus on the actual health issue and not where to get coverage or what you're going to have to pay for that. What about you? Do you have any obstacles that you've experienced?
Well, I feel like stigmatization is very huge. Unfortunately, there are other people out there that like don't fully accept people with different abilities.
Yeah, there are people out there like that, but we need to find the ones that do accept us for all of our different abilities and partner up with them or be in more groups with those type of people and surround ourselves with like-minded people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are you taught to express your thoughts once in need?
Oh, to pinpoint how I was taught, I can't really give that to you. I was very lucky to have it just kind of learned where I needed something, I said it. If I wanted something, I said it. I might not get the response I wanted with saying what I wanted. Like if I was in the store as a kid wanting a Barbie and I couldn't get a Barbie because it wasn't time for me to get a toy, but I could express those just very easily.
Yeah.
So putting myself in someone's else's shoes that maybe did not get taught how to express their thoughts, wants, and needs, or couldn't express their thoughts, wants, or needs. I think you need to start with the basics. Chocolate milk versus regular milk at breakfast time, if that you have that option. Toast instead of cereal. Very starting with simple things that we can build ourselves up with, because even picking out the chocolate milk over regular milk is advocating for yourself. It's advocating for what your tastes are, what you're wanting, and starting with those baby steps like that can help, I think.
Honestly, I completely agree. I don't know if I could teach it. I agree because it was ingrained in my thought process and in my head and in my heart. It's a natural state of being for me.
Yeah, I think we can celebrate us being lucky that we were able to just express our thoughts and wants and needs.
Yeah. How do you believe someone could advocate when they're focused on what they need?
They need to focus on advocating for those basic needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what until they feel like they're met, they have them consistently. Talk about those. I need
Yeah.
clothes, I need blankets, I need food, I need shelter.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're expressing them and expressing them to the right people too,
Yeah.
because if you express it to someone that doesn't know different resources, they might not be able to help you, and so they're just there to maybe be that sympathetic ear to listen to you to give you some comfort, but they can't get you the help that you need. So
Mhm.
maybe we need to make sure we're expressing them to the right person.
Right. And honestly, like it's a good start to advocacy if you think about it. Like it's a good start to like start on like what are your needs and like it's exactly like what you need. You can start by saying, "Hey, I kind of need this. Like I need that."
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier for those monetary needs that we need, like if it's a coat for the winter time or boots because it's snowing or new shoes because we have holes in our shoes. um then starting with those things and actually getting them could help boost someone's confidence and like, okay, I can go for more things like my wants now for advocating for those.
Yeah.
Once they see I did advocate for these boots and I got them. But those are needs that we need. We don't want people being sick with the snow that we get or shoes that have holes in them. We don't want all of that stuff. So people need to have those things.
Yeah, that and also like don't be afraid to put your voice out.
Right.
It's very important to be heard, especially like if you feel like you're not being heard. Like sometimes you just gotta say what you gotta say.
Well, you bring up a good point with that, and I'm just going to plug it because I am the Self Advocates liaison, our t shirts on the back of them. It, making sure your voice is heard, it says to speak even if your voice shakes. Speak
Yeah,
your truth, even your voice shakes. So you bring up a very good point that what we hit on with Self Advocates and the purpose of this podcast is to help others become better advocates or give them the courage to talk about what they need to advocate for themselves for.
yeah. Now, on a maybe a little depressing note, is society a barrier to advocacy?
Um, that's a tough question there.
A little heavy, too, if you think
It
about
is
it.
a heavy question. You're coming up with some good questions, Emily.
Thank you.
It can be, I think. I think sometimes society has a certain stereotype of people with different abilities, and they would rather show that stereotype than all the different abilities that everyone has.
And unfortunately, in society, I feel like it's very having a different ability, whether it's a disability or not, it's very stigmatized. It's very taboo nowadays.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's areas in society where there's that, but I also think on the positive note that some like societies have made improvements.
That's true.
I think more improvements need to be made. I'm not going to say that everyone is so accepting and um all of that stuff, but
Right.
and not stigmatizing, but more improvements can be made and yeah.
Yeah. How do you think we can overcome barriers to advocacy?
So, I think the biggest thing we kind of already hit on is growing our confidence and our getting rid of our self barriers that we are our inner barriers that we put for advocating,
Right.
and then being present in the moment so we can truly understand what we're advocating for, what we want and what we need, instead of rushing to the next moment or being uncomfortable in a situation and we just want to get out of it. We need to be present in it so we can truly understand what's going on. Those are my little tips, I think, to overcoming barriers. Do you have any?
Sometimes if you feel like some like have like low expectations, try to like exceed them, like exceed expectations,
Okay.
but also like yeah, being able to engage in like conversations and being aware of what's being said, then it'll be easier to be a part of the conversation that way.
Yeah, I think if we all try to communicate to understand instead of just communicate to talk,
Yeah.
it could be a little bit different for advocating and for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, thank you for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate you having me back on and talking about the stuff that we talked about. It was great.
Yeah, I agree. This has been Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. Thank you for coming, Beth.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. And this is us signing out. Thanks for tuning in and hearing from your neighbors with disabilities. Check out next month's podcast for a new guest and topic. I am Emily, host of Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. See you next month.